He's there at the White House for us now as the president's landing. I mean, do they have to go to work? Do you know, Jonathan?
Hey, Shep. The staffing at the West Wing has certainly been sparse in recent days. We will see what happens in the days ahead. And I will have to go in just a moment when the president lands. And you can see right there, Marine One is on its descent. The president is inside. He is about to return to the White House after just about 72 hours at Walter Reed Medical Center, a discharge that is by most estimations ahead of schedule. And we will now enter a new chapter in his recovery from COVID-19.
Do we know if we're about to hear from him? We so often do. I just wonder if under these circumstances we're expecting him to speak here.
Shep, I'm sorry to say I can no longer hear you. The helicopter is that loud.
I believe it. They tend to be. Is Robert Costa still with us? Hey, Robert. Just a billion questions. I'm always the most curious when we ask very basic questions that they won't answer. If the president had wanted us to know, how are his lungs, what drugs are he taking, and that sort of thing, he could have told his doctor, you can go ahead and tell him. There's nothing preventing that, but he clearly doesn't want us to know. That doesn't offer comfort to those who are concerned about him and about our nation, quite frankly, in these difficult times.
This is a president, Shep, who has always kept things closely held, from his tax returns to medical information. It's not unusual for any person to want to keep medical information private, but this is a crisis moment for the United States as the commander-in-chief is hospitalized. You see Marine One there. This is a president defiant, despite advice from doctors to stay back at Walter Reed, going back to the White House. My reporting, Shep, is that the president is now wanting to go back to rallies in the coming days, potentially, go back to debates. He just tweeted he would like to have get back to the campaign trail as soon as possible.
The doctors say that's not possible until 10 days, or you're free of fever and all symptoms for 3 days. And we're nowhere near any of that. We're told that he hasn't had a fever. That's what they tell us. But he's still COVID positive.
And it's going to raise enormous concerns about the safety of people should they attend a rally hosted by President Trump in the coming days before those guidelines and that timeline plays out, as you just explained. But this is a White House that feels like, as Jonathan Swan was saying and Jonathan Lemire so well, that they're not really in control of the situation. It's the president himself, isolated in many ways in terms of decision-making, in terms of strategy. He's driving everything. Chief of Staff Mark Meadows is close to the president, but in no way countering the president when it comes to advice or the plan of action.
In some COVID cases, according to the scientists and the reporting of the president's own health authorities, in some cases, people lose some cognition. They don't think quite as fast. They can't make decisions really well because the disease affects you in such a way. And often that's the case with patients who are taking these more extreme treatments, which the president has been taking. Does anyone have any reporting on whether they believe the president's cognitive functions have been affected?
There is no reporting about the president's cognitive functions at this point, Shep. What we do know is that President Trump, due to his age, due to his health, his weight, he is seen as someone at risk due to coronavirus. And that's why the doctors have urged him to rest, to not be active, to not be going back to the White House or on the campaign trail. They're pleased, we're told both publicly and privately, about how he's handled the coronavirus so far. But he's perhaps, because it's not really clear about the testing, about when he actually contracted it, perhaps still in an early stage of this virus. And it plays out for people in his age range, 74 years old, in vastly different ways. And for someone who's already had oxygen, this is clearly a serious case to some extent. I'm not a medical professional, but talking to medical professionals, it's clear that this is not just some kind of case that is in and out.
The president has it. The first lady has it. Kayleigh McEnany has it. 2 of her staffers have it. 3 journalists have it. The center of the COVID world is now the White House. The West Wing has become a super spreader location. Are there any concerns that they're just going to keep getting positive tests and it may become more and more difficult to operate the place?
Shep, it's not just the White House, it's the Republican Party. the chairwoman of the Republican National Committee, the presidential nominee, the president's campaign manager, 3 senators. The list goes on and on. Major Republicans are now dealing with the coronavirus. Wish them all a speedy recovery, as I would wish any American or any person a speedy recovery. But you're seeing the Republican Party under siege tonight. But look at Senator Ron Johnson's comments. He tested positive a week ago. Today, he called it hysteria. He said people should go back to work. He has the virus, but he is saying it's hysteria. That's the message from some of the top Republicans tonight. Move ahead on the Coney Barrett nomination and the hearings. Move ahead with the campaign.
Is there anyone politically in his political circles who thought, you know, if he stays in the hospital and says, now I understand this thing, he could get some physical sympathy and an emotional lift by, I mean, there was another political route to take here. Was anybody advising to stay there and milk this?
Many Republicans were hoping he would rest up, then come back with vitality on the campaign trail and help them. There's a lot of private concern. But what I'm really detecting is a muted public response from Republicans and the president's advisors. They don't want to get in the crosshairs with the president's anger. But you do see someone like Senator John Cornyn of Texas today in a tough reelection race. He came out and said the president has made some mistakes and how he's handled the pandemic and how he got over his skis. That was Senator Cornyn's words. So you're seeing a trickle of some Republicans talking about how the president may not have done everything right, but in no way are they fully publicly fighting with him.
Yeah. Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.